IlliquidX is a FCA regulated firm based in London, specialized in trading fixed income, special situation securities, including non-performing loans, trade receivables, and corporate debt and government debt of special situation, either bankruptcy, corporate or government they have in distress or in default situation. We've been involved in a number of cycles in different jurisdictions, from the Russian crisis, Argentina, then European crisis, the US deleveraging and European crisis. And now with this COVID situation, we have seen that the biggest hit market and sectors, they were mainly in emerging markets. So we're going back to having a huge amount of distress situation and bankruptcy situation in emerging markets. Mainly, we're seeing here the leveraging of countries and in emerging markets that caused quite a lot of restructuring lately, from Argentina back to Ecuador. And one of the biggest bankruptcy out there, sovereign debt bankruptcies, is Venezuela. It's Venezuela debt. And that's where we've been working with our investors for the last two years and a half, since the default of Venezuela in 2017, where we created a vehicle that is dedicated to this to this credit opportunity, both from investors but also for creditors that had their exposure and that they don't want to let's say go alone with their own independent legal team, but they want to join a bigger legal team, management team, and team with the big expertise in dealing with sovereign debt restructuring for the last few cycles, and trying to solve this, which is the most complex sovereign debt restructuring out there at the moment, and maybe in the history. And that's what we put this vehicle together for, and we call it Canaima because Canaima is one of the largest natural park in Venezuela, and one of the most beautiful. And they have a particular waterfall, which is Salto del Ángel, Angel's Fall, which is the highest waterfall as well, which we thought was quite nice.
Let me ask you, please, something. Why holders of bonds as well as trade credits should be concerned about their holdings against Venezuela? How Canaima could help them get this solved? And why with Canaima instead of themselves facing or trying to face Venezuela?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Salvatore, for these questions. And this goes back to the point that I mentioned before. This is one of the most complex, we expect to be one of the most complex restructuring, debt restructuring, for a number of reasons. And this has already been discussed, a while ago after default, how an eventual restructure, if and when it's going to happen, is gonna formalize. And usually when there is debt default, especially in a sovereign, but also in a corporate, there is creditors coming together and doing a credit committee and trying to find a plan, a restructuring plan, an exit plan from the bankruptcy, in which all the players and stakeholders, they participate and they contribute. In this particular situation, we have not been able to do that, and the creditors not been able to do that because of the sanctions. The sanction that started almost immediately after, or even during the default since 2017. They came and they would become stronger until they froze any commercial activity and any trading activity as well from the debt, but also, what was more important, any commercial activity for the corporates, which is within the country, and within the countries itself, the possibility to pay anybody, suppliers, even the paper they're printing the money on, they the government cannot pay, and hence they had no currency, and there was this huge this huge run to the dollarization, the de facto dollarization of the economy, which is happening at the moment. So so the complexity is the sanctions, number one, for facing a restructuring. Then it's a dual government, in which even if you are creditors and you trying to legally and trying to find independent legal forum where to represent your claim, both as a bondholder but also as a commercial creditors, is very tough, because you don't know who to sue, in which jurisdiction. There are different courts that they have been represented by different lawyers of either Maduro, de facto government, or Guaido, de jure government. And one of these cases, for instance, is the famous gold case in the Bank of England, where still, as of today, we don't know, and the courts, they don't know which government is representing and it's going to be recognized by the courts in England, either Maduro or Guaido. So this is another layer of complexity. And then of course you have the biggest amount of debt out there. Is we're talking about more than 160-70 billion of debt out there that needs to be reconciled. For the bonds, they're talking about 60 billion, which is easily reconcilable, because it's clear there's a system out there, but there's a number of supplier creditors, expropriation claims, for which nobody really knows the amount, and there is no easy way also to reconcile which one are true and which one has been inflated or even fraudulent, created by the confusion of the system. So that one is going to be a huge effort to that, and there's already talking about creating a system that has been to reconcile and to approve this type of creditors. But this is again is a layer of complexity they're going to create. All the creditors they're going to face, and the debtor is going to face when and if this political uncertainty is going to be passed, and that we're going to talk, and they're going to talk on a more organized way with creditors. We've been talking with Salvatore Milanese, which is one of the partners in Pantalica, about a lot of situation in Latin America for the last few years where we have met, and while we've been working on setting up Canaima and talking with a number of creditors about the situation and how important was to get united in terms of sides, because it's important to reach critical sides and having a coordinated effort among the creditors towards a united target, which is an orderly restructuring. We discussed it with Pantalica, which is very, very knowledgeable in the sector of restructuring, has been advising and leading on a number of restructuring in Brazil, and was very immediately, Salvatore understood the importance of this effort, and how relevant are the number of creditors in terms of numbers, in terms of also the amount in Brazil because of the exposure, natural exposure of the economy, very, very proximate exposure to the Venezuela, which is one of the biggest economy in Latin America. Together with Brazil and Venezuela, these are the largest economy in Latin America. At least Venezuela was, not now, clearly. But with a great exposure of corporates towards Venezuela, and all these corporates and creditors, they had no clear solution, no visibility, maybe not experience as well of facing such deep restructuring, deep recession, even within the framework of LATAM economies, which are per se they are volatile and they are very and they go in very boom and bust, a lot of boom and bust type of scenario. But this one seems that's been dragging for longer. Is much severe than any experience that we've seen in the last few cycles in Latin America, and that's why we came to the common conclusion that definitely Pantalica can help the creditors in both corporates, which we already have huge and great relationship with in Brazil, also bondholders. There is another asset class that you're very familiar with, Pantalica is very familiar with, in order to represent what Canaima is doing and get also the Brazilian market join this effort, which is going to be more successful and more relevant the bigger is the group of creditors that are going to come together.
Okay, Celestino, thanks to the article released yesterday by local newspaper Valore Economico describing the initiative we are commenting here, we are receiving tens of calls from a variety of creditors, both bondholders and trade creditors. Can you explain, please, how these two categories can board to the Canaima Fund and the cost and bureaucracy, if any, to board to the Canaima venture, please?
Yes, absolutely, Salvatore. Is basically we have how we structure this, and we've been discussing a lot with our legal team how to organize this better. This asset class that you just mentioned better. Is the bondholders? No, it's it's quite relevant group per se. It's around 60 billion of creditors, 30 billion of Venezuelan sovereign debt, and split and the other 30 billion in PDVSA bonds, and they tend to be in euro clearable. They can be transferred between custodians, and they have their own prospectus and language contract, which is very similar. Maybe different from each ISIN. There's small similar, but overall they have their contractual similarity of a bond contract. So we have created a cell only for this type of creditors, in which clearly we can provide liquidity because now we have cash investors as well. But also, moreover, we're seeing a lot of creditors, they don't want to sell in this particular market environment, and they want to contribute to the fund in kind, in this particular sell in kind, which means they're going to receive the same coverage, legal coverage from our legal team, being part of a bigger group, and at the same time exposed to the recovery of the whole group together, if they contribute in kind in exchange of shares. The cost of this basically exchange is only the fees that are charged within the fund. So there is no immediate cost, there is no legal cost. All these costs are being borne by the fund. So the investor per se is not gonna there is not gonna immediate cost, but this cost is gonna be incurred by the fund. And the idea is that the fund will recover this cost by the debtor. So all these costs that is gonna incur because is an obligation which is due, that we think is certain, is only is a matter of time and quantum. We think that any legal activity should be repaid. Legal costs should be repaid by the debtor, which is for different circumstances not able to pay. Maybe he's willing, but he's not able to pay because of the sanctions and other factors. They are stopping this process. So that part is very straightforward, and at the same time is segregated from any uncertainty. For commercial creditor instead, which was I think your second part of the question. The commercial creditors, they have a segregated cell within the fund in which each credit claim and commercial claim is going to be considered independently, because there's going to be a KYC, onboarding, contract due diligence for each claim. Commercial claim could be an exit claim, it could be ICC claim or expropriation claim, and each one is going to have his own SPV, and the exposure to the fund, the funders, they're going to fund the very legal activity, is going to be a portion of the particular claim, and the recovery of the particular claim. So there will be basically, for creditors, commercial creditors, going to be a bilateral contract with the fund. They're going to regulate the recovery, and the economics of the recovery once and if there is going to be a resolution of this situation. So the fund is, as I mentioned, we talk about 60 billion of bonds. We're expecting 60 billion of expropriation claims, trade receivables, especially on PDVSA. Now, within all this is very fragmented. We have we cannot say there is one country that is bigger than the other. Of course, the bigger economy, they have the bigger oil economy and oil exposed economy, they have the bigger share of this type of this debt. Clearly, we have US is going to be is quite relevant, but is that we have a lot of LATAM corporation. Brazil is quite relevant because they're quite a big corporation. They have exposure. Or the bondholders, I don't know yet how big is the exposure on Brazilian bondholders, but is knowing their closeness to this economy and how relevant was in terms of yield, in terms of size. I bet they was in any portfolio in any fund, emerging market fund in dollars. We had a lot of exposure in Europe as well, both from corporates and bondholders. So I would say maybe is a third North America, a third Latin America, and a third of this is Europe and the rest of the world. Yeah, roughly, right, exactly.
And Celestino, what's Canaima's or your forecast as far as a potential time frame for recovery? This is one of the most common questions I've received from people that are making contacts with us in order to understand how long it's going to take for a potential recovery. This is the first question. The second is why those people, as far as corporation, would be better off with Canaima instead of starting individual litigations against Venezuela?
Yeah, good questions. In terms of timing, here is there is no, at the moment, there is no clear visibility. So we don't know, and we just came out from the US election. We came out from the Venezuelan parliamentary election this past weekend. And we're going towards the end of the year. So the timing here is going to be clear and clear as the new administration in the US is going to take place. What Maduro, which is consolidating the power now, winning the election last weekend, how the dialogue is going to start and is going to go. So that is going to be next 6 months. Going to be very, very critical. And we will know in the next 6 months if we're gonna go towards a negotiated solution and hence another 1 or 2 years that we expect this to pan out, or it's gonna be a little bit more. It's gonna be more polarization of the party, which can extend even more the time frame. So that's the time frame, and our hypothesis within the Canaima group and the professional that they put together this vehicle is that the hypothesis is sooner or later there is going to be a resolution. We're talking about a very important economy, oil economy, gas economy, mining economy just next to the US. Geopolitically is a relevant part of the world that cannot be destabilized forever, because it can destabilize the whole region. So also for the countries that including Brazil, the biggest economy there, and Argentina and other countries around it, they don't want to have this humanitarian disaster just next door. So there's going to be quite a big political pressure both sides to find a solution from all. That's our point of view. Now, it's going to take time, yes. So, and hence your next question: why is better off working as a group rather than individually? So this is again a question of cost versus reward. Now, of course, everybody can take their own legal team and try to fight their own corner, and try to attach the assets right outside of Venezuela, and trying to get paid via crystal X type of strategy. But this amount of assets outside of Venezuela, they are limited, right? They really the only way they can pay more than 120 billion of assets of debt or more is find a solution for our creditors, preparing a plan, putting the economy back on track. So this is something that is going to be done through an all the restructuring process. And we think with Canaima, we want to be in front of this process. We want to gather the big enough relevant group to sit in this restructuring negotiation, providing a solution, a relevant solution for creditors that we represent, and in a way that going alone, each of them can really be divided much more easier. Whereas facing this big, huge task, very complex task with a expert team, specialist team, is a united team, I think it's going to benefit the creditors rather than trying to get assets individually, which is much costly. It's going to take more time and maybe achieve a less return. What we're doing here is a consequence of the experience that we have in many restructuring and many situations. And we think that we have the right team that can help to solve this intricate restructuring and benefit the creditors immensely. Our experience has always been the united front is a bigger front, is stronger than attacking the creditor from different sides, because there is a risk that on the other side the debtor can divide the creditor in many fronts, in many pieces, and treating them not as they should, not as fairly as they should, or with offers that could be not interesting. Now, look at Ecuador, when they did their restructuring, started the first, and also Argentina started the first offer with 30%, then 40%, and eventually the creditors have been united in a group and they've been holding out for a better strategy and return. They recovered multiple than that. Now, talking about more than 150 or 200%. So that's the history, is really they're teaching us and putting giving us the experience on how to approach these issues. So on our side, we are very clear on how to face this restructuring, this problem. Maybe some creditors, they don't have the same experience on the same view, which is fine. But that's why we're working with the Pantalica. I think they did an amazing job already, reaching out creditors, reaching out a lot of holders that have no clue of the risk they're incurring doing nothing, because this is exactly what the debtor wants. Wants that creditors do nothing, because doing nothing means they go with the time. A lot of these contracts they can prescribe, so they left with nothing, like happened in Argentina in 2016 when it was last restructuring. A lot of creditors they did nothing; they were completely wiped out. And also, then more importantly, it's gonna go on the back of the mind of these creditors the contract and their investment they made were really meant when they did it, which means that when the restructuring offer is gonna come, any offer they're gonna make is gonna be considered sufficient. So I think that's why we've been doing this, and of course everybody's got his own experience, and the creditors can take their own decision. But I think Pantalica is got a huge experience as well in this field, in the restructuring, and they can really explain with their experience and what are the legality and the issues ongoing on by themselves towards this scenario.
Well, I agree 100% with Celestino. He explained it very well. The most important reason creditors say that individuals or corporations with bonds or trade credits should board into this initiative, into the fund, into the Canaima fund. I would add to what Celestino already mentioned, that Canaima has put together a first-tier group of the best in terms of litigation advisors. This is a very complex process. Celestino mentioned that we don't know how long it's going to take, but most importantly, you need first-year negotiators, because this is a cross-border complex process that any individual with any type of holdings cannot individually reach out to Venezuelan counterparts and try to negotiate. That's why a big group, a large group would be stronger. Of course, the most important aspect is being associated with lawyers and experts in this type of negotiation. So this is a great, terrific benefit for whoever holds something against Venezuela and want to try to get it back. Thank you very much, Celestino, IlliquidX, and most of all, the Canaima Fund Initiative. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Salvatore, for inviting us, and to all the team of Pantalica. Thanks a lot for your support.
Canaima Capital Management. Juntos, somos mais fortes.